Salaam.
Yo.
There he is. Second time's the charm, baby.
Yeah, the second or third, I had to switch devices on us.
The old Bluetooth device switch thing. Yep, I feel that.
Doing too much out here.
You know what it is? It's like I was just saying before. It's like technical difficulties are part of the streaming process now. That's like one of the best parts of Versus is watching people not know how to operate.
Please don't put that on me. I didn't do that.
No.
Cool.
No, trust me, I don't want that on you. I don't want that on us. We want this to be a non-versus. How are you doing, sir? It's a pleasure and an honor to welcome you to the show. So thank you, first of all, for doing this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Questlove sent a high recommendation, said do this. So I was like, okay, I'll be the first person out of my producer group chat to jump in and say I'm doing this. Yeah,
so to those who don't know, there is this epic like group chat that like how many people are in this group chat that's you and Questlove and like it's everybody. It's like a hip hop producer wet dream, right?
27, 28, I think.
27, 28. Yeah. So Questlove, former guest on the show, friend of the show, he was on. I know we've had Just Blaze on as well. Yeah. Questlove sent the bat signal out and you stepped up to the plate. So appreciate that.
Oh, glad to be here.
Yes, sir. So, you know, this is like a talk show. This is a game show. It's sort of a 2-for-1. So, you know, we're here to just celebrate, you know, this music that we all love, celebrate your, you know, accomplishments in this career as well. And, you know, I always like to tell guests that you have the option, if you want, you can rely on the chat if you don't know an answer. We sort of have two schools. There's some guests who we've had who are like, fuck that. I'm not looking at the chat. I'm going solo dolo. Others, it's like a phone a friend. So we're not judging you either way, Salaam, but just so you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I won't feel judged, and I'll make sure I keep myself on point.
That's a fair and balanced
device and power, so we don't have issues later.
Yeah. So how has your 2021 been off to as a start? Like, what has your year been so far?
Honestly, I feel like I just got into 2021 the last 2 days. It's like this year, it's February on Monday. So it's like we really went fast, slow, kind of in some weird way. So I feel like I've already gotten to February, but I didn't really get started yet, you know. So it's kind of like a weird balance. But, you know, I'm excited for it either way. And, yeah, it's getting ready for it.
A lot of the beginning weeks of 2021 felt like rejects from 2020. It was like everybody thought we were going to cross the calendar threshold and it was going to be all good. And then
we wished for that. We really wanted it. That was wishful thinking.
It was like in the horror movie where like you see the villain or the monster is dead, but like they didn't like shoot it like the last time, and it reaches up and sort of grabs you like the last like scare in the movie, right?
Gotcha, bitch. Yeah, that's basically what it did.
Major gotcha bitch vibes for sure.
Exactly.
All right, well, Salaam, I think we should get into this. Are you ready to do some hip hop trivia?
Yep. Hopefully, I'm not the nerd that I think I am.
Well, wait. I think you want to be the nerd that you think you are, right? Are you?
I'm already going. I don't know what you're gonna ask me, and I don't know if I'm gonna know the answer, but I'm a good sport. So fun.
We appreciate that. If it makes you feel any better, you're our episode number 86. We've had some, you know, legends.
I hope not to get 86.
Yeah. You're not getting 86, although you are technically 86. But we've had some legends on the show, and I've been surprised at the DMs that we've gotten at the last minute of people seeming really nervous. And I always say, we're not here to make anybody look bad. Like, it's not our goal to get somebody like Salaam Remi on the show and be like, gotcha, bitch. You know, like this is a celebration.
Right.
So we're going to get into it. The first round is called The Choice is Yours. This is our general multiple choice round, just general knowledge. So let's get into it. The first question is, this company produced and manufactured the highly influential TR-808 drum machine. Was it Korg, Akai, Roland, or Alesis?
Roland.
He says Roland. And the answer is Roland. we figured you might know this. You're a producer extraordinaire. But my question for you is, what instruments or machines did you sort of get your start at? Because you started at a pretty early age, if I'm correct,
I was
right?
playing drums as a kid. Elvin Jones, you know, the legendary jazz drummer, saw me in the music store with my dad when I was 3 on my 3rd birthday. And it was a store that was kind of like where Unique Recording used to be, like kind of up above 47th and Broadway, or 7th Avenue, whichever side that was. And I was in there doing something, and my dad's, basically how my parents met is that my dad was in a band with my uncle, my mother's brothers. And then all of my uncles all played together, but I became the youngest, keep up with the trap drum set and do something. And when I was 3, Elvin saw me in there playing stuff, and then started to put together a little drum set for me. Like, hey, took a floor tom, made it into a kick. And he was like, wow, that kid, you know, he recognized I had a rhythm and I was going into something. But then as I got older, my first keyboard, I have a Yamaha Porta sound that actually you could program stuff in. So I had that in 83. I was in junior high, I guess like that Christmas, I got that. And at that time I was in junior high with like Akinelli. And he's always like, yo, you guys making beats with the little toot, toot, toot. It was like almost like the organ little drum machine thing, but I could program it into hip hop beats. So that was fun. And then after that, probably the Roland 707 was my first drum machine. I got a DX21, a Roland 707, and a Yamaha MXT5 or something like that. One of the Yamaha 4-tracks. And that was my start. And then I was like, it doesn't sound right. It was like, get a reverb. And I got at least this reverb. And kept going until I realized you need to be sampling these things, not programming them. But programming was my basis, so I already knew how to do that, and I know how to play drums for real.
Well, it's good to have that background, I would say, because
Definitely.
I feel like there's a misconception amongst a lot of musicians and producers that sort of feel like theory and sort of like more practical education can harm them. But
Right.
I don't think that's the case. And I would wager a bet that you don't think that's the case either, because you are such a musician as well as a producer.
Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing because, you know, I knew my dad used to call me Luther Vandross. So I knew what I appreciate from sampling. You know, I've sampled, you know, Apache, you know what I'm saying, all the way, and then made you look or something out of it. So I appreciate samples for the sonics and the engineering and everything else. But I also understand programming from the dot up. So I could sit on my laptop on QWERTY keys and make something on an iPad, a GarageBand on the phone. But at the same time, a lot of my stuff now, I'm blessed to be able to be in a position where I've become a musician and an engineer, so I could just listen to it. And most of my tracks start on a kit or actual instrument, and then I go backwards and put the digital edge to it, sample myself, basically.
Yeah, that's amazing, and probably great on the publishing as well. You know, you get to.
In the long run, yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah. We got Salaam Remi in the house. See, you know, you were nervous. We're easing you in. This is like, you know, in your
I
wheelhouse.
see it. That was like, you know, alley-oop, loud. Okay, got it.
You get it. You get it. But you never know. You never know. There might be that moment. There might be a twist or turn. We got to keep some sort of anticipation going here.
I'm not embarrassed to not know something. You know, I'm here to learn as well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to move on to the next question, second question in our first round. This group, or the group Channel Live, made a song with KRS-One dedicated to this political prisoner. Was it Leonard Peltier, Mumia Abu-Jamal, Matula Shakur, or Herman Bell?
It's called Free Mumia, so it'd be number 2.
Great memory, obviously. And what is your, I mean, you know, I kind of picked this for a couple of reasons. And one of them was I really like, and I wanted you to talk to you about your most recent album that you put out last year, which was very a sound and a record of the times. And it sort of spoke to a lot of political issues and just society issues. It's not even politics, really. It's just, you know, what was going on in the world. So tell me a little bit about that album and where, you know, how it sort of came about for you.
All right. So first thing is, like, you know, I work with Channel Live. So their first station identification album, like, I was in the room when KRS-One made Madism and everything else. So I sat there and watched that. And then Tuffy with Channel Live is now, you know, still my publishing rep at Peer Music.
That's
So he's
amazing.
the executive vice president or some vice president at Peer, and he's who I deal with. So I've known him since he was an intern in the studio before he got the deal and got there. So I always knew what they were going on with, in between and everything else. My album Black on Purpose, just me watching the times, and I just felt like sometimes when you feel like things are happening, us as artists, we have a reason to say something, and I felt that I should use my strongest voice, the voice that's gonna last forever. And I, looked at it like, the song's gonna last longer than my feelings. So I just channeled being quarantined in the house, instruments. As long as I have electricity, I can create. And I used all of the emotions I had to pour into that project, which for me, it's something I just feel like if I didn't make anything else ever, this is what I made. This is what I left it to. I almost feel like it's my last record in that way because I put so much into, calling everybody. I was talking to people about what's happening and getting them to record themselves over the phone, shooting videos over the phone. Is it because I'm Black? Everybody's shooting on their phone and I'm here editing and making it happen. So I just felt like there was so much that I needed to do musically, but it was also so much I had to do for my own learning of, reminding myself who I am and where I'm going to and what makes a difference. And I think that where we are in the world now is a cause of humanity, you know what I'm saying, which comes back down to what many people have said over the years. Like, this isn't just a civil rights issue or a right versus wrong. This is humanity. Like, does humanity make more sense than greed, wealth, and whatever's supposedly there? So I just felt like, yeah, as a human, and definitely as a Black man, which if someone looks at me, that's what they're going to identify first. This is something I had to do and I had to say, and I'm letting the music speak for itself. I still have a few more videos on the drop off the album this year.
Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah, if y'all haven't checked it, definitely look for Black on Purpose. I mean, the features is crazy. You've got everybody from Bilal to Busta Rhymes, Black Thought. I mean, it's just it's a laundry list of dope collaborators, and then the production is just amazing. So you conceived and did all of that in 2020 in quarantine.
Yeah, after George Floyd passed. I mean, there was a couple of things I started a bit before, but the album was really done between June and September, pretty much.
Yeah.
So between those 3 months, and then all the visuals and everything was shot, like I said, on phones or finding different creative ways to do it during quarantine.
Right. I mean, we've all had to pivot in our current circumstances and the limitations that being, in a quarantine and sort of separated from each other. So, we all know that limitations will breed creativity. The limitations just make the art. And, it's dope to hear that you were able to do that, because a lot of times artists and producers in their projects, we all know certain things that like people are in the studio years working on, but there's a whole other school of thought when it comes to albums. It's just being sort of snapshots of a time. And you felt that urgency to sort of like, this is what we're dealing with at this moment. And it's amazing that you were able to knock that out and just, put it out into the world when it was needed.
Yeah. I mean, I put a lot of feeling into it, and ultimately I want people to listen to it, but I also want them to feel it. And if you hear it and you feel it, then you're getting part of my transmission, and that's going to be here long after I'm here. You know what I'm saying?
Amazing.
So we're doing that amazing triple tri-colored vinyl coming out from that on February 19th.
Oh, I mean, you've already sold one right now.
There we go.
All right. Black on Purpose, check it out. Listen, we like to promote our guest work too. We're not just drilling them with trivia questions here. Yeah. Question number 3. Here we go. The Buddha Bliss crew consisted of Spoonie G and this soon-to-be hip-hop superstar. Was it Slick Rick, Rakim, Dougie Fresh, or Jimmy Spicer?
Wow, you went there with this one. That was Dougie Fresh.
Hey, come on, y'all. That's the Buddha on the left-hand side.
You have a...
I got a story for this one. I was actually at that session.
Let's back it up for the people who may not know. Your father, who you mentioned earlier, he was involved in this record and this group.
Yes. So my father, was a musician, and then he started producing different things, and he was watching what I was into. So he was doing promotion at the time, and when he would go to a store, he'd have me with him sometime. And I wanted the Sugar Hill record, but I also wanted the Yellow Man record. I was into the reggae growing up up in New York just as much or more than sometimes than the hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
So he had met Dougie when he was going through the record stores in Harlem. And he also was friends with Sly and Robbie. When they were in New York working with Gwen Guthrie and doing different things, he would help them and move them around and, just take them to the Paradise Garage or do different things. So he had an idea that he wanted to take the Pass the Dutchie, which Musical Youth had going off the original Cutchy Rhythm. So he had Sly and Robbie come to the studio. And actually, they were in the Planet Studios, which is like under where Rogue was in New York, like, on 30th Street. And Robbie walked in. And I remember I was like, oh, my father. He's like, who's your father? I was like, Van. He's like, well, I'm Truck and he's Bulldozer. That was a big joke. And I was like, wow. And then Dougie came in and he was in there doing his thing. And that was Dougie's first actual recording. Like the first time he'd been in the studio and done anything. So that
he was like 13, right?
Yeah, 13 or 14. He was like 13 or 14 at the time. So he was there. And then I remember one day he called me. He's like, you was there touching everything. You was always in the studio touching everything. But, even down to having Dougie Fresh on my album and being one of the first voices that come on after, Malcolm X intro, it's all full circle for me. These records are family. The aspects of it is family. And, yep, that was Dougie's first time in the studio. The Buddha Bless crew.
You were there. The history. I mean, I can only imagine you've seen so many incredible moments in the studio, but we had to take it back. We wanted to go a little bit.
Definitely. You surprised me with that one. Okay.
All right.
Doug for that.
All right, we're gonna go on to our final question in our first round. So far, so good. 3 for 3, Salaam Remi. This artist makes a cameo as a bassist in the opening shot of the music video for Eric B. and Rakim's Don't Sweat the Technique. Is it Special Ed, Wyclef Jean, Q-Tip, or Diamond D?
And that would be Wyclef.
He says Wyclef. There he is. A fact that I actually didn't know until like way more recently. I don't know, it might have flown over my head or maybe I just never noticed it, but it's one of those, the cool thing about the internet and like hip hop, like Twitter and stuff, is that somebody will discover something and then everybody starts talking about it. And some people are like, what? I always knew that. And then other people are like, yo, I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if he ever told me that. He might have told me, but maybe it didn't connect totally. And I think that's probably around the time he was going to 5 Towns College in Queens. But, I knew that he was somewhere in there. And I've seen this picture before, so I caught that fact.
All right.
I think I'm doing all right so far.
Yeah,
I think he had me confidently set up for the rope-a-dope.
He understands the big picture here. He knows how this thing goes. I'm sure you've been asked a lot of questions about working with Wyclef and working with the Fugees before. Obviously, you did. You were a huge part of their legacy. Fuji La is like a classic. But what was your general relationship like? Not a specific story, but like, what was the dynamic like when you entered the picture with the Fugees? Like, what was that? Because there's so many personalities and such a strong, I'm sure, opinions and visions and stuff. Like, how did you sort of find yourself fitting into the mix there when you worked with them?
Well, basically, Blood on Reality was out. Jeff Burrows had hit me up. He was their product manager at the time. He hit me through Jessica Rosenblum, through Flex. For Master Flex, I was on the air with Flex at the time, 197. And I was working with all the reggae acts. And he asked me, like, hey, I got this group that's Haitian. They got something, but they need a record that can really just go and play in these spots. And then when I was like, well, who's the manager? And he said David Sonnenberg and Bernard Alexander, who actually also at the time were managing Nas, Akinelli, and Biz, and Jungle Brothers and a couple other people. So I knew Bernard from dancing with EPMD and being around, and I was dealing with him with the Biz stuff all the time. David is actually who sent me Aini Kamosi before I did. It was a hot step and stuff. So I knew them already. And, it was just that thing. It was the end of the year. It was that last check you can get cut before Thanksgiving.
Because the business ends. The business ends.
I knew where it was. I was like, oh, really? Y'all about to not sign? The two signers go two opposite directions, and you're not getting a double signature check after a certain point. So I was like, all right, so let me get that first half. Like, I'll do that right there and take care of it. And, you know, we worked on it. And what it came down to was Wyclef came in and, you know, they had the song Nappy Heads. It was kind of loud. It was kind of more in the Onyx, you know, grimy, yelling type vibe.
Right.
That was popular then with all that energy. And I just said, look, this is the basis of the beat. And I had Nas's That Ain't Hard to Tell and J. Rue's Come Clean acapellas. So I had the basis of the beat, and I was like, I need you to go here. And he was like, all right, cool. Then he came back by with Praz and Lauren. Praz was like, yo, you know my boy Kobe Brown, you know what I'm saying? Kobe, you know, went to Rutgers with me. I was like, yeah. He's like, all right. Everybody's kind of comfortable, and they came by my crib, and we got the idea for it. Then when we got in the studio, I let Clef rhyme for like 13.
Oh, wow.
Until the tape ran off. And back and said,
Getting some Wi-Fi connection issues here, folks. Sit tight, sit tight. Hold tight, hold tight.
Freeze. Okay.
I think you're good now.
I'm good now? Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So where did I end the story?
You said that Wyclef, he got in there and you let him rhyme and then it cut.
Like 13 minutes, and then I just basically told him, take this part, take that part, put it together. And when he put it all together, we got what we, you know, Chiba y'all, I'm a Libra y'all. And then it came after that, said, if rap is something, I'm the last breathing dinosaur, take that part out. So I just kind of laid it out, and then he hit the Mona Lisa, can I get a data? I was like, all right, that's the chorus. And once we put his verse together, then we did the same with Lauren's, and the same with that. And at that time, you know, they were willing to definitely listen to figure out what it was. And I just gave them something that started the process. And then, you know, we did the same thing with Vocab. And then they took some of the rhymes and the energy that we had on our Vocab remix. Their version of Vocab kind of sat better and was the video version. And then I was actually doing a song with them for the Clockers movie. I'd done a few songs for Spike Lee's Clockers. Yeah. And there was a beat, you know, that I made for Fat Joe. And Lauren was like, yo, play the Fat Joe beat. Cup jumps up. We used to be number 10. And we recorded Fugees during that time, you know, in my studios. And then they went and got the budget for the second album. So I think a lot of the process was them also trusting me enough to show them what about their talent was going to make it work. And it's always been that, like, you know, kind of a mentor space. And, you know, I didn't speak to Cleffy, so I spoke to Froz and Lauren this week.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? So just like, it's always been peace, but my energy has never changed. You know what I'm saying? From 1993 to now, you know, we're 28 years later, I'm always like, yo, what's up? What you doing? You should probably try that. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, I still have everything. I still have the cassettes from those sessions back here somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Fugees, Project Heads.
What?
You know what I'm saying? I still have all my tapes and all my disc and all the pieces and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's beautiful to still be able to reference it, and it still sounds fresh.
Yeah, it's Salaam Remi and the Fugees from the 90s. Like, I think that doesn't have an expiration date.
Yeah, but it still sounds like it got this little thing to it, like a lemon zest on it or something. You know what I'm saying? To keep it fresh.
I was going to say lemon zest. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Zestfully clean.
Zestfully clean. Today's episode is brought to you by Zest. Zestfully Clean with Salaam Remi. Salaam, you're doing a great job so far. We're going to move on to our second round. And by the way, everybody watching in the chat, if you have questions for Salaam, if we have some time at the end, we might do a little Q&A. So drop him the little question balloon box at the bottom. We're going to move on to our second round. And the second round is called Picasso, baby. So in this round, this is all about the visuals. I'm going to show you a small piece of an album cover, and you have to identify what the album is by the little cropped image that you see. So we tested your general knowledge. Now we're testing your eyes. Okay. So here we go. All right, let's get into it. What album cover is this? Is it Dead Prez, Let's Get Free, The Roots, Things Fall Apart, Boogie Down Productions, Sex and Violence, or is it The Coup, Pick a Bigger Weapon?
That is The Roots, Things Fall Apart.
He says it's The Roots. Let's see if he's correct, folks. Absolutely correct.
Hey, yes, y'all.
I'm a I'm a huge Roots fan. So, you know, when you did the EP with Black Thought, I was super geeked because what a great marriage. And, you know, probably my favorite of the streams of thought that we've heard thus far. But I also had heard from our mutual friend, Amir Questlove Thompson, that at some point you were also working with the Roots as a band. Is that, can you talk about that? Is that still in the works? I know that their album has been in the works for a long time. So
Right. So, I guess probably would have been like in 2016, I think. There was a big session that they did at Electric Lady Studios, and they had everybody there. They had Stro, J Period was there, Kareem Riggins, Ninth Wonder. It was like loads of people. Bilal, Tish.
I think Anderson was there, was Pac in there maybe?
He might have come. I think the Internet was there on another day.
Yeah.
You know, the band, you know, Ray Angry, James Poison. There was just a lot of people there. So they asked me to come through. I came to New York for a few days, and then we just vibed, and we came up with a bunch of different tracks. Big up Brandy Younger. She came through and played harp on stuff. And we just had loads of music, which I'm sure must be 300 or something tracks. I know I worked on at least a few days worth of music. And it was really just jamming, like, hey, get something up. You know, Amir was in one room. I might be playing bass. I might have an idea. It was just kind of bubbling over. And when that happened, Tariq and I just started vibing, like, oh, you know what, maybe we could do a little bit more music or kind of get into something. And we had spoke about it before, but never really did it. So then he came down for a couple days, really, when the Roots had shows in Florida. And that's how we ended up doing the EP. We really only spent like 3 or 4 days in the same room. Wow. And then, you know, he would just come and he just rhyme and do stuff. And then I was kind of took a couple of rhymes that he spit on one beat and kind of built it backwards and built a track to it and did different things. But I think out of that early stuff, and maybe even some stuff that was done over the last year, some of it might end up on what becomes the next Roots record, because there's so much material that they have there. And, you know, between what Amir's done and then, I mean, they just constantly always recording stuff. Now, you know, so who knows how much of what is going to end up where, but we definitely have some material to come forward. It can also just happen at any given moment. Like, you know, it's just combustion just happens when you put all the elements in and you shake it up real good. Anything can happen.
Right. You got to wear hazmat suits when you're in the studio with that many elements going on there. Anything. But no, I really like the Streams of Thought album too. And in a weird sort of paradoxical way, it felt more like a live album. Like it had more live band elements to it than some Roots records too, which I know is, again, totally attributed to your musicianship. So it was really dope to hear, you know, Black Thought on those kind of tracks as well, you know?
Right. I mean, there was a time, like I actually have a Questlove kit in the room, and I just pushed, you know, I had an organ in there already, so I stuck a Questlove kit, an amp, and a bass and a guitar. So a lot of what that album is the sonic of a room that I just set up, and I would just be recording. And then some points, like I said, I just played his vocal and then kind of just played against it. But also when I played Tariq, you know, things that had a musical element, it wasn't like he shied away from it. Some people would be like, it's so musical, I don't know what to do. He was able to hear something very musical that I thought was left field and then dive right into it and do what he does. So that marriage was able to make it work, and that's just how it ended up coming out, you know, just being live on top of live.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if there's any MC in the game who's not going to shy away from live sounding, it's probably going to be Black Thought, because the Roots, as we all know. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. What album cover is this? Is it Outkast, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, Souls of Mischief, 93 Till Infinity, Poison Clan, Two Low-Life Mothers, or Compton's Most Wanted? It's a Compton thing.
That is a Outkast.
He says Outkast. And he is absolutely correct. Is there anybody that you haven't worked with that you would like to work with, or do you sort of just feel like, I'm cool with who I've worked with, if it happens, it happens, or do you keep like a bucket list?
I tried not to have one for a long time, but at this point when I'm not, you know, to be totally transparent, I'm not really excited to just go in the studio every day and work on stuff. I'm trying to find my other retirement things. It's this approaching 50 thing that kind of is getting at a lot of us, like half 100. I've been doing this since my teens. What am I doing again? But I guess one of the people that I would want to collaborate with and just see what came out of the room would be Andre 3000. And then also Slick Rick, just because that's my favorite rapper ever. Slick Rick and Andre. Yeah.
Great picks. Great picks. Yeah, you know, I totally understand that. I mean, I don't totally understand it because I am not 50 and I haven't been, you know, making music as long as you have, though I do make music. But what have you found? Are there practices that do sort of re-excite you, like, or things that sort of like spark your imagination? Like the first thing that hops into my mind when I'm asking you this is I know that you signed Hiatus Coyote to your Flying Buddha record label out here. And I feel like I would imagine since you signed them, you probably felt what we all felt when we heard that, which is like, what the fuck is this? Like this is crazy. But but like beyond like soaking that up, like are there practices or ways that you sort of have found useful to get your inspiration back or sort of get back into the mindset, I suppose?
Well, what I would always do is I would change genres of music. So, you know, from the mid 90s, probably around 95, 96, I started just working on entirely different genres of music when I was bored with one. So I was doing kind of up until that point, I would go between reggae and hip hop and reggae and hip hop. And then I started working on more musical stuff. Like, you know, I did the remixes to Jamiroquai's Virtual Insanity, or I'll do Tony Rich, or I was going a whole nother soul way. There's some levels of production that I've done that people have never even heard me do. You know what I'm saying? Like other levels of R&B stuff that I was doing was totally different. But I would always just change genres. I go from, you know, in the last 10 years, I might go Jasmine Sullivan one way, but then I'm working with Nas in another way. And then I might be at a movie a whole nother way. So, you know, even now I have I'm executive music producer for the USA versus Billie Holiday. So I have 10 Billie Holiday songs coming out within the next month with Andrew Day singing it. That's like, you know, straight up, you know, the versions, you know, my version of Lady Sings the Blues on that.
Damn, son.
It takes me all the way home. So it's kind of like I go to different genres. So I think sometimes it's a reset in that way, but I also feel like I've gotten to this point when I was 30, I've gotten to this point when I was 40. When you sit down, I feel like Cus D'Amato sitting in the Catskills. And then when you finally meet a Mike Tyson, you're like, all right, I was out of here. But you know what, kid? I think you got it. But you're going to have to put in the work. Right. And it's the same way I felt when I met Amy. It's the same way when I felt when, you know, even with the Fugees and different people, I can kind of still see, I still can see when somebody's got it, but I also have to see them ready to put into the work to be the greatest that they can be.
Because any aspiring artist should know this. Talent won't save you. Talent helps, but that's only part of the equation. It's the work ethic. It's, you know, being a good listener. It's all those things. So I totally understand that, where it's like, yeah, you can have the talent, but you got to have the commitment and the drive to actually be, you know, able to be produced, you know?
Exactly. New Hiatus Coyote coming soon as well.
Don't do this to us, Salaam. Come on. It's a new Hiatus Coyote. Come on. Wow. Yep. All right. I'm excited. Yep. Definitely long awaited. Choose Your Weapon was what, like 2015? Maybe something like that.
It's about that.
Yeah. All right. Last question in our second round. What album is this? Is it Run DMC, Tougher Than Leather, Public Enemy, Yo, Bum Rush the Show, Onyx, Back the Fuck Up, or Double X Posse, Put Your Boots On?
That is Sugar Ray's mouth, so that's Double X Posse.
He's analyzing the mouth shapes, folks. And he is correct. Double X Posse.
Big up BK, Sugar Ray.
Underrated
Bonds and
group.
the JC crew.
Absolutely. Is there for you, is there a group, and I'm not saying, like, you know, I asked the last question, I wasn't leading you to say Andre, and I'm not leading you to say, you know, them here, but is there a group that you feel that you, and it can still be a big group too, but is there a group or an artist that you feel like didn't get their flowers, that you feel like should get more praise than they do, and you're just like, scratch your head like, yo, why does everybody not feel that they are as dope as I feel that they are or were?
You know what I feel like? I feel like there's a thing called the hip hop community. And when it's a community, for instance, growing up, you know, Marley Marl, I credit with creating this one-man band producer thing, in the way where, hey, I'm showing up with my drum machine, and you know, I guess it was Pumpkin before him in a way, where Pumpkin will play stuff and get people. But Marley created the sampling, producer, drum machine. Boom, I'm coming in with my beat. This is my track. This is what I'm bringing to the table and doing it. But the thing was that what made Marley able to sustain what he was doing, because he had his killer MCs, the Juice Crew, this and that, the Eric B. and Rakim record, other things that was happening, was that when you went to Brooklyn, you heard what Howie T was doing with some of the same break beats. It was another level. When you looked at what East Elmhurst, what Herbie was doing with the Idolmakers crew, was another thing. When you looked at what Said G was doing with the Bronx crew, it was another thing. You got, when you listen to what 45 King was doing with his MCs, it was another thing. So I felt like the collective of hip hop has been about the community. It wasn't just about that. And then those guys that just made one record that was the record, you know, the Sir Abu with Jazzy G, you know, with Lil Jazza's Holy War, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or, you know, when you listen to what the Audio 2 crew was doing, and what they were coming with, like King of Chill is
Right.
unsung, you know what I'm saying? Like, so many producers were unsung on that level. And then when you get down to the MCs, there's so many records. Like, you know, off the top of my head, just because it was Jersey, I thought about Chill Rob G, who's one of my favorites, you know, his Ride the Rhythm album. But then my favorite out of Flavor Unit was La T. And I only got No Tricks. This cuss got Flavor, Wake Up, you know what I'm saying? And a couple of lovely little records that was there putting on the hits. But I just love the way La T sounded and the way he wrote on the tracks. And then Marky Fresh came out of nowhere, and he had the one single, the Mac of Rap, with the Gary Barr sample. You know what I'm saying? So I was so into so many different people because they would be the ones inspiring me on top of the obvious. You know, my old school tapes, when I listened to it, it wasn't just the stars on the tapes. It was the people in between it that was really making it go. So even now, when somebody's talking about, like, you know, last 2005, I'm like, yo, I don't know who did Still Tipping with Mike Jones and Paul Wall and Slim Thug, but that beat still goes, and I still want to hear somebody rhyming on it. I love what happened with Rich Boys, Throw Some D. I love Shorty Lowe's, you know, Halo. Like, I love the sonics of it. I love when Lex Luger's moments were kicking in with the BMFs and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I love what Jalil Beats did with Meek Mill's early singles. I still rock with my dude Key Wayne, what he did with the A Men, and what he continues to do overall. So I just think that there's so many people who didn't necessarily get their upfront flowers, but they definitely contributed to the fabric. And I feel like I'm one of those people as well that just contribute to the fabric of what happened. It's not about the me factor. It's about what is this music doing for us.
Absolutely. You know, when I made a post earlier today, you know, promoting your appearance, and I was saying, if you're a hip hop head, you definitely know Salaam Remi. If you are a casual fan, you may not necessarily know the name Salaam Remi, but goddamn, the music has affected your life, and you may not even know it. And that you know, that isn't to echo the point that you were saying. That isn't to take away from the people who were sort of the flowers that grew out and like stood a little bit taller. Like, even if it was just the one hit wonders, like they still contributed. But I guess there's something about our society in general that we just tend to like focus on the one thing, and we like put all of our attention there. But it's about, like you said, that community and that environment where the steel sharpens steel, where if you're not looking at the whole context, you're really not getting the full picture. It's like going to a restaurant that's really dope and only getting one thing when you go. It's like there's a whole menu, you know?
Exactly. It's just like what Just Dice said. If I didn't say your name, you wasn't there. There's certain things you will only know if you was there. So looking at Double X Posse, now I'm thinking about it. Like, I liked him from his first singles. He had a version of, he had the first person I knew to use the Burning Bridges break, you know, the Mike Curb Congregation, Lalo Schifrin thing. And he had a song called Knock 'Em Out Sugar Ray. And they did actually use a thing, dang, 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 on top of da-da-dum. But that was the first time I heard that break with Sugar Ray. And then he came back again on Mellow Records. And they had a record, I think, it might have been his Double X Posse then. And it was called Executive Class. That was crazy. Executive Class was dope. And then by the time he got to this Big B period, one of my best friends at the time, you know, and still is, T-Ray had produced I'm Not Gonna Be Able to Do It. And, you know, so many other records for them, you know, Make Money and other stuff. And then, you know, I was around Sugar Ray a lot. I seen, you know, a lot of different stuff. BK was around me for years doing stuff. So I always appreciated them, but it was just things that led up to it. You know, before the Naughty by Nature stuff, they were a group called The New Style. And they had a record called I'm Dynamite with the Watch 103rd Street, you know, band sample. But I saw them on the record before the record. You know what I'm saying? And it was just dope because sometimes you're like, you don't know who that person's going to become, but it's about what do they continue to put out. You know what I'm saying? You have to do it so many times over and over. Lightning doesn't keep striking in the same place without a lightning rod.
Right, man. Well put. All right, listen, we could geek out on records all night, but we got to keep this game going. Salaam Remi, folks, knows a thing
What
or
am I,
two
6
about.
for 6 now? Am I
You are
I'm trying to keep score.
6 for 6. I've got your score here. We
have said I'm not allowed to pass 13 because then that means I would beat him. But.
Yeah, I think I'm actually surprised that Questlove hasn't popped in because we've had other guests on the show, and he is also I know you know that Amir has many jobs. I guess one of his jobs is he is a heckler because he comes in here and he heckles guests, and I think he tries to get in their head. So he might show up still. You know, the night is still young, but so far 6 for 6. You're doing good. We're gonna move on to our third round, and the third round is called Digging in the Crate.
Oh, fun stuff.
This is the sample round.
Okay.
Thing that I think you might know a thing or two about. But this is all about samples, so I'm going to play you a sample and ask you a question about it. So let's get into it. This rapper sampled Jungle Brothers' I'm Gonna Do You for his 1994 single. So I'm going to play you the portion of the Jungle Brothers song. You tell me which rapper sampled this for their 1994 single.
This not just to say we did it, because I'm committed. Girl, he's committed. To do me, I had me pinch it. That's the man.
Was it Nas, Common, Notorious B.I.G., or Keith Murray?
That would have been I Used to Love Her. That's Common, B.
Not just to say I did it, but I'm committed. But so many niggas did it that she's just not the son.
We caught that you were on Heat Rocks recently, the Heat Rocks podcast, and you dedicated a whole episode to Jungle Brothers. You know, obviously, if y'all want to hear his thoughts on that, go listen to Heat Rocks. But if you were to give us the elevator pitch version of that, why were Jungle Brothers so pivotal and important to you?
It was raw. It was like, you know, that was probably my senior year in high school, kicking in with that. You know, still what was powering me, being a kid growing up in New York, getting on the bus, going to school, you know, we had to have that tape. And the way Jim Browski sounded, the way that, Because I Got It Like That, you know what I'm saying? I just went back, I just saw Ian in the hallway of school doing the dancing on the dance floor. Before it was on Buddy, just on when we had it on our tapes. Because I Got It Like That, I was like, what is this? You know, what the way they were able to utilize what was known as the baby band beats was there. It was so raw. It was their laid back mentality, you know, Black Medallions, No Go. I'm Gonna Do You was probably one of my favorite joints, the way they cut up the meters and the different stuff. And during that time, I was actually just starting to travel to the city to go to downtown, not downtown, Downstairs Records to get breaks. So I was learning stuff. You know, I probably had 6 periods of high school. So I would get out at 12, take the train to the city real quick, try to get some records, and then be back before 3 o'clock, and then ride the bus home with my friends who had a full day of school. So I was like, you know, in hip hop and really starting to get busier with the sample levels of it. But I just felt like what they did just laid so much of a blueprint. And then having a chance to, you know, do little jam sessions and vibes with Africa later on and asking them a gazillion questions about, you know, the fact of how he was coming up with different stuff. And that he said basically they wrote the whole album banging on the table, the God Made Me Funky break. And then he would go out and try to find beats to match it. And then doing records. I did a song in my house on 4-track with Mike G and Torture at one point called Blast That Ass Out the Socket. I've been trying to find it. But, you know, it's just having a chance to sit down and really talk to them. Mike G's born like the day before me. So just like a similar type of energy. But I felt like the Jungle Brothers made everybody feel like, yeah, we're here. And it was kind of like the shift from the kingpin status of rapper to nah, we here and I'm official and I'm making this happen. But they just had their own swag and energy. And then eventually what happened with Native Tongues, it was a whole other thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say that they definitely are the unsung, you know, like everybody gives props to Tribe and De La as well, they should. And, you know, everybody else who was involved in the crew. But Jungle Brothers are, you know, I'd say that they're the underrated members in terms of groups within the Native Tongues.
To a point, for those who know can know that that's just still the core of it. You know what I'm saying? Tribe definitely made their own legacy from Low End Theory forward from everything. I Cannot Kick It, you know, Tips. Everybody's genius was able to shine, and they were all still able to rock together, and that was the dopest part. You know what I'm saying? So for the Jungle Brothers, they, you know, all of their first 2 albums. If you said the Jungle Brothers, you know, first couple albums, Tribe Called Quest first couple albums, De La Soul's first couple albums, those pieces alone shifted what the possibilities were in music. And then, you know, of course, with Queen Latifah and Moni Love and Black Sheep's, both albums, you know, I worked on stuff with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was just all dope, that the fact that they were able to keep pushing things forward.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to move on to the next question, question number 2 in our sample round. All of these artists have sampled Lou Donaldson's It's Your Thing, except for one of them. So we're going to play the drum break / sample in question. Who has not sampled It's Your Thing? Is it Brand Nubian, Lord Finesse, Madonna, or Redman?
This must be a trick question, huh? Okay. Punch Jump Up to beat down, so it's definitely Nubians did that. I don't remember Finesse doing that. He very well may have. Madonna, and then Redman. I'm gonna just do the obvious, like, you know, dash out and say Madonna. If she used it, surprise me.
He's going Madonna. So we're gonna actually, I have the samples here queued up, so we can, you know, we'll go on a little journey here. So first of all, you said it right away. Obviously, we all know. Probably one of the more prominent uses, Brand Nubian. We've also got Lord Finesse. Moment of Truth. Madonna, so it was Redman who has not sampled Lou Donaldson's.
Who knew? I mean, it had to be there for a reason. I guess it was the easy answer. Which one of these is not like the other?
Listen, Salaam Remi, you don't need some stupid hip-hop trivia show to validate your supreme knowledge, so I don't want you to feel bad about getting an answer wrong. But as you also said, we're here to learn and teach each other as well. So yes, Madonna did sample the Lou Donaldson It's Your Thing. We threw in a little curveball for you there. So
I mean, I use it on Amy Winehouse and Nas Cherry Wine and on Supercat's Ghetto Red Hot, so I was familiar with the record, intimate with the record, but yeah, I didn't really know about the Madonna one. Who knew?
Yes, sir. All right, we're going to move on to our next question. Here we go. Which of the following artists was the last to sample Heartbeat? So this is a sample, again, that you are intimately familiar with.
Yes.
All of these artists sampled it, but who sampled it? And we'll say sample interpolated because there was one that we weren't positive about on here. Our research team, we were sort of like, it sounds like it could be a sample, it could be a reinterpolation, but which of the following artists was the last to use it? I will play for the benefit of everybody here the sample in question. Here we go. What do you think, Salaam? Who was the last to use it?
This timeline, I would guess Tupac, because Above the Law, I do remember them having a record like it. Of course, Buddy. Treacherous 3 was Feel the Heartbeat, which was kind of played over in its own way, pumpkin style. I would say Tupac.
All right, we're gonna take a listen. Let's see where we're at here. So first, we'll go in ascending order. So out of these, the first to use it was
Feel the heartbeat with the treacherous streets. We got a new heartbeat.
that. We think that might be a replay or like a playover, right?
Definitely is. That's
Yeah.
Pumpkin and Crew.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was our instinct. Then De La, Moment of Truth. That was 89. So the next use is 92, and it was, which means Tupac is correct.
Right. Yay! I got one wrong.
Redeemed. Obviously, you used that sample for Hot Stepper. That was what, 93?
I did the record in 92. It was number 1 in 90. It came out 94 into 95.
Oh, 94, 95. Okay, yeah. Is that, do you feel like, obviously people had used it before, but like in your mind as a producer, do you feel pressure when it's like, yo, I'm going to take this sample, but like De La did it. Like, do you feel like you have to like, does that feel different to you than using a record that is the first time it's being used, or does it not even matter to you?
Not for that. I mean, actually what ended up happening was when I was doing reggae records back then, I would have samples, and then if someone used a sample for a hip hop record, I would then put it in the reggae pile. So even with, the It's Your Thing by Lou Donaldson, it was actually Biddies from the BK Lounge on the De La album that when they had that there, I was like, oh, I can't put it in the hip hop pile. Nobody's going to want it this week. Even though Diamond D had done it unbeknownst to me for Brand Nubians and just caught another piece. But when I said, cool, this in the reggae pile, I did it for Supercat. So at that time, what I was doing was, in the clubs, when I would be in the DJ booth for Funkmaster Flex, he would play a classic section. So I said, okay, cool. I'm just going to do a mixture between the reggae section and the classic section. So then that way we can make it work. You know what I'm saying? And that's really what I was doing. I was like bridging those two things together. Start in the reggae section and then put the classics in. So Here Comes the Hot Stepper, which I'd already produced as a record, fitting over that sample was just there. But also, as you may or may not have known, my dad, the Town and Garden album that you put up, Work That Body, my dad was the arranger on it. So
we did know that.
He actually put together all that stuff. That album is the first album that the keyboard player Bernard Wright ever got paid for a session on. And I was around when they created that album, but also Heartbeat was a leftover track from that album.
No way.
And then while we were away, we went to Monaco in 79. And while we were away, they recut the track. And used the same drummer, Tommy Harris, who was in my dad's band, Sonship, and played on that album. And when they recut the track, my dad said he'd actually come up with that groove off of It's a Shame. It's a shame, Jane.
All right.
And that was the It's a Shame groove that became Heartbeat. So when I sampled it from Here Comes the Hot Stepper, it was all 360 right back to where it was supposed to be. And that ended up becoming the biggest record, still does quite good business to this day using that sample. Yeah,
that's amazing. And it's so cool to hear like the sort of lineage and the connection to your past and your own background and family, and sort of it's like the family business, right? Like you're in the family business.
Some of these things I couldn't buy them if I wanted to. They just are.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, well, we have made it to our final round now, Salaam Remi. And the final round is
there already? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
we're gonna lose friends if I don't get some more stuff from them.
All right. Yeah, this is going to be infamous in the group chat. No matter what happens, the feelings are going to be hurt. So this is our speed round. What it is that we do is you're going to have 90 seconds to answer 5 questions, non-multiple choice, in the category of your choice. Here are the categories for tonight: rap puppets, the D'Angelo and hip hop connection, or, since this is episode 86, back to 86. So you get to choose the category, and you will have 90 seconds to answer 5 questions in the category.
I'm gonna stick with 86.
Sticking with 86, but he's not about to get 86. All right, listen to him.
I mean, if this happens, I got 86 from Latin Quarters, so.
he's seen worse. All right, so let me just go over the rules for you real quick. You'll have 90 seconds. If you do not know the answer, or you want to just pass, you can say pass and we'll come back to it. If you answer it incorrectly, though, you only get 1 shot at each question. So you got to be careful with how you answer these. You can use the chat. I know you've been a little, step off chat.
I haven't seen the chat, so I don't know how I'm being heckled.
All right, so then you haven't been taking the noble road. You just literally can't see it. So we thought that you were taking the high road, but it's all good. We're not judging you. I have OC's classic Time's Up here, and it is time to 90 seconds. So when we stop hearing OC, your time will be up. So are you ready to do this?
Yep.
All right, he's taking it back to 86 on episode 86. We got Salaam Remi in the house. 90 seconds is on the clock. I'm going to cue this up. Salaam Remi, let's do this. Salt and Peppa's debut album, Hot, Cool, and Vicious, was released in 1986, but this single was added to the album the following year.
Push It.
Push It is correct. All right, this 1986 album became the first rap album to top the Billboard charts.
Ooh. Raising Hell.
It is not Raising Hell. Name 3 singles from Run DMC's Raising Hell.
My Adidas, Peter Piper, and Dumb Girl.
We'll give you partial credit on that. It's Tricky is correct. All right. This group released their debut in 1986 and featured producer The Real Richie Rich as a member.
Third Base.
It is Kings of the West Coast.
Oh, okay.
And in 1986, Too Short released Raw, Uncut, and X-Rated, the 3rd album of his to drop on this Oakland record label.
Lost me with that one. I don't know it.
All right, he's going to take a pass on that. I'm going to total up your score here. Let me go over the other ones. Beastie Boys' License to Ill was the first rap album to top the Billboard charts, although Raising Hell did come out that year. Kings of the West Coast featured Real Richie Rich, and Too Short's label that put out his first 3 albums was called 75 Girls, which I think for Too Short is probably a slow day when it's 75 girls. I'm going to total up your score, Salaam Remi, but I want you to know that no matter what, you are a champion in our eyes.
I think I got 12.
All right. We're going to total that up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, okay, here we go.
Got 11.
Yeah, you got 11. So let me tell you who I'm gonna look up and let you know who you're sitting in the 11 club with. But while I do that, my question to you, we always like to ask our guests who come on the show who they would nominate to come on the show. Who's somebody, now that you've been in the hot seat, whether it's from the group chat or somebody else, who would you want to see come on?
No ID.
No ID. That'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can make that happen. 11 out of 15 is your score, Salaam Remi. So let me tell you who else is in the 11 out of 15 club with you. We got former guests of the show, Chub Rock, Elda Sensei, writer and producer Diallo Riddle, Kim Osorio from The Source, DJ Mighty Mai, J Live, Russell Peters, DJ Mr. C. You're not in bad company in the 11 club. I want you to know that. 11 is a fine winner's circle. I can't have a hip hop legend walking away feeling bad about this tonight.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, the things you asked me that I didn't know, I damn sure didn't know. You know? So it was like 86. I wasn't even thinking about what was happening on the West Coast, so it was perfect. I think I was trying to figure out how far my bus pass could go.
Probably not to the West Coast at that point.
Nah.
I don't think the buses went that far. Do you have? Can we take a couple minutes to take some questions from the chat here?
For sure.
All right, yeah. It was crazy. Like Instagram used to cut us off at an hour, so this was always like I was like brushing people off, like, yeah, thank you, okay, goodbye. But now they don't do that anymore, so we can
nice
go a little bit. Yeah, it's very nice. Shout out to Mark Zuckerberg, great guy. All right, so let's see. We got some questions here from the chat. Let's see. Okay. We're gonna start with something random. We're gonna take a break from music here. Tralamont asks, "What is the first dish you learned to cook?"
Can I remember? What I learned to cook?
Are you a cook? Or are you?
I
you
actually cook now.
Okay.
But, I've actually been doing a lot of vegan cooking.
Mm.
My first dish I learned to cook, spaghetti or something. Like as a kid, I'm home by myself, like a pot pie or something. It's like, I can remember cereal.
Cereal.
French toast, maybe.
I don't think we'll count cereal. French toast is in the breakfast
French
realm.
toast or spaghetti or something. Probably French toast. Now that I think about it, I remember being at, big up my cousins, Desmond, Derek, Kim, Shala, Richie. I remember being at their house in Maryland and watching them make French toast. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah, I saw them make French toast.
And what is your go-to dish now? Or is French toast still your peak? Is that like what you're dishing out?
I haven't been eating eggs in quite a few years, so
yeah,
I don't really make it. I make a pretty good vegan lasagna. There's a couple of songs we made about that. Yeah.
Big fan of vegan lasagna. I like to eat vegan myself. All right, New Cold Order asks, what's your favorite sampled breakbeat? And then they say not impeach the president. What is your favorite sampled breakbeat?
Apache.
Like,
we don't go there.
Yeah. Apache. When you did Made You Look, I'm sidebarring here. Like, it's such an ill sample and such a I don't want to say like it's obvious or anything. Like it's not obvious, but it's a beat where like it was just, I think that there's so many times where as producers we can like, I'm going to take this sample, I'm going to chop it up and I'm going to you try to get your like primo on, right? Where you're like, I'm going to take little
Primo
pieces.
was killing us with that. You're like, I need rare drums. He's like, I'm going to take these drums you heard your whole life and bang you over the head with them. Yeah.
Right. It's like, I'm not just the obscure guy. I'm going to take like the most obvious thing. But what was your, how did that even happen that you were like, I'm just going to take Bongo Band, Incredible Bongo Band, and I'm just going to slow it down. Like, that was crazy.
I've been working with Ricky Martin at that time. I'd done a remix for him called Amor that I had Greg Nice on.
Not where I thought this was going to go, but keep going.
Right. So there's a remix, if people look it up, there's an Amor remix with Greg Nice on it.
Okay.
That I did for Ricky Martin. And then I was working on other songs with him. I just moved to Miami. And I was like, yo, I want to have Ricky. I was like, if I put Ricky Martin on Apache, we out of here. This is going to go. And there was a thing that I always heard that Large Professor would slow down the samples when he was doing the chops just to make sure that he was getting right on the hit. So I was just slowing it down, messing with it. And when I slowed it down, I just got all my stuff moved down to New York. And all the dudes, Luce, Jay, Alex, everybody that used to work in my studio, busting the room. And I also was on the phone with Nobody, the producer. And he was like, yo, what are you doing? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to give this to Nas. So then I hit Nas and left it on his voicemail. And he was, starting to work on what was becoming the Godson album. And, we had a discussion about how it felt when we first saw I Ain't No Joke, how it felt when we saw BDP rushing into Union Square in the video, how it felt when we saw Run's house, and just that whole outside and how it felt. And when you look at the Made You Look video, you see all those things. And I thought he was going to come real hype on it because it was a really hype, intense time. And he rock hemmed on it just like I ain't no joke. Let's get it all in perspective. He basically pulled a rock him. And, you know, he has a thing where he would talk about rhyming on the one ass niggas. So he like, I'm not one of those rhyming on the one dudes. I'm going to come after the one. So it's like, bam, let's
get it all in perspective. Yeah, it's after, it's not on the downbeat.
Let the beat go boom, and then he tell you about yourself rather than trying to hit you with the beat. He's going to come after it. And that's what he did. And, you know, we were working in Orlando. I went to New York for one day and came back, and he's like, yeah, let him hear it. And that's what it was.
I mean, just such a mean, like, just moment, like just a crazy epic sound, and definitely what Nas needed at that point in his career. You know, that was important for him, not just as having a great record, but like there was a lot surrounding like people's perception of where he was at in his career, and he really had to come in with the Rakim style. You know, like
he nailed the record, and then for me, just on the production level, you know, I got really cool with Michael Wiener after that. And that stuff, that Credible Bongo Band was recorded like in Phil Spector's Wall of Sound studio with those reverbs, with King Erickson playing all the percussion on it. So King Erickson's killer percussion on top of the Phil Spector sonics of the guitars and the drums actually made the original record just sound so crazy. And then when I sampled it, I made sure I used, you know, my stereo sampler and got, you know, I had my MCC 2000, but I was using stereo samples and utilized a lot of the sonics of the record, and, you know, didn't really smother it with a whole bunch of extra stuff. I just kept EQing it till it sounded like it was popping a brain vessel for you. And, you know, it sticks that way to this day.
It did. I have popped many brain vessels to that record in my life. We got time for a few more. Sally Haskell asks, please talk about making my favorite song, Addicted by Amy Winehouse.
So that song, when we did the Frank album, Amy was being smart mouth and telling off the label and doing all types of young artist fun stuff. And Lucien Grange had actually said, you know what, go back and add a couple songs to the album, because we won the Ivor Novello Songwriter Award for Stronger Than Me. But the album wasn't performing that well.
Right.
So they said add a couple of songs to the Frank album. So we actually came up with what later became Addicted, and also I'd Been Drinking, which became Just Friends. So those two songs were added at the end of the Frank album cycle, and that's when we first wrote them. And, you know, we did it the way I would always work with Amy. She would start with guitar, I'd do a basic beat, and then build it up, and then flush out the production when she was gone, for the most part. And that's what happened with that. And then we had an early version that was a little bit more jazzy Frank sounding. And then when it was time to do it for the Back to Black, where she was more in the doo-wop lane, and I was just trying to find ways to not have all the songs be the same tempo. So that and Tears Drying Their Own, I took a Motown way and added the dun 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 dun, kind of boom boom, like doing the Motown roll on it just to get it going. But, you know, having my knowledge of samples and having my knowledge of all those different things, and really the whole song was about Amy wanting to get the line off. And, you know, I said to her, like, why don't you make a song called Fuck Sex? And she's like, oh, I like that. So she wrote a whole few pages called Fuck Sex.
Yeah.
Fuck Sex became Tears Drying Their Own, Addicted, a song called Fuck Sex, and one more song, I can't remember which one. But basically, you know, she really just wanted to say, it's got me addicted. It does more than any dick did. That's what she wanted to get her joke off. And that's what it is. Got me addicted. Does more than any addicted. You know, she just thought it was hilarious. And Amy's a comedian, so everything that she sang was really meant to make you laugh.
I mean, just an amazing artist. Obviously, amazing work that you guys did together. And, you know, hearing you talk about that too, you're not, you know, this is what kind of separates, like, you know, producer beat makers from producers. You're looking at the whole album and you're being like, these are great songs. They're all, but we need to switch the tempos up. Like you're looking at the bigger picture, and that's just another thing that obviously we all appreciate about you is like your attention to detail and your, you know, dedication to this craft of producing records. It's not just beats. Shout out to beat makers. Love beat makers. But
I'm a beat maker at heart. I understand that. I totally understand that. But yeah, I transitioned probably at the Fugees, to be honest. Like I'd done it before. I was already doing it and really focusing on songs. But the Fugees just let me know that the same beat that could have sold 30,000 could sell 30 million.
Yeah. And but what in your mind separates those two in terms of like how it
focus on the song.
Focus on the song.
The song, like the way I describe it, telling a young artist, the beat is like, hey, that's a crazy shape. Ooh, I see that. The melody is like, oh, that's a pretty face. Oh, wow, pretty shape. Right. But the lyrics actually make you, intrigue you enough to always stick to it. You remember their name, remember what was said to you and everything else. Everything else is just like a pretty face and a nice shape. That's going to be great. It's a great melody. Cool. I love it. It might be classic for years. But when you have those lyrics, and all the artists that I've had success with are incredible lyricists, and they're able to explain themselves. You know, Jasmine Sullivan's lyrics. You know what I'm saying? You know, Miguel's lyrics, Amy Winehouse's lyrics, Lauryn Hill's lyrics, Nas' lyrics. The lyrics are as important to me as what snare I use. Because if I have great lyrics, I can change a snare or don't even put one.
Right. Exactly. The production doesn't have to do the work.
I can't take whack rhymes and just be like, I'm going to put a great snare and nobody's going to hear what you said. It might work for 2 weeks, but it wears off.
People will be like, this is a great song, but why is the snare so much louder than the rapping that I can't hear?
And there's a lot of songs with real loud snares. And they get you going. They get you in the party. Be like, hey, you're in it. And then after a minute, it doesn't go the same. But I work the opposite way.
Well, we appreciate the way you work. And Salaam Remi, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. This was amazing. Thank you.
I feel like I need one more question. If I don't answer one more question, I feel like I'm cheating someone.
Like you want another question from the group? Or...
Yeah, if there's one more question from the group, I just need.
All right. I mean,
I have to say something else.
I have a bunch in here. So, I mean, it's just about finding, I want to make sure that we do it justice here. All right, let's see. We've got some Amy questions in here. We've got okay, this is a good one. This is well, and if this doesn't suit you, we'll keep going. I'm trying to be respectful of your time, so like I'm not in a rush. But Tamita Taylor asks, what's the best advice, tips you can provide for new talent or managers with new talent? Like the industry has changed so much, obviously, but maybe there are still things that remain the same. What do you sort of advise new talent when they when they're trying to make their way into music?
You have to continue to keep creating things that you feel like not just fit into as good as what's going on, but that it's something unique about it, and you have to continue to do it a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to build a tunnel digging a hole. You have to dig a tunnel and then keep going and going and going till you get out the other side. And right now we have the internet. You know, the internet is a great tool that I didn't have 30 years ago to be able to show people what my things are. And if you look at, you know, from a producer, like from a, you know, Ninth Wonder took a lot of the Godson album and made God's Stepson and got more popular. Or Danger Mouse made the Gray album out of the White album and the Black album.
Yep.
Even though they were there, but they were able to utilize that. And I just think that there's so many artists now where you can create something that, you know, people might not discover it the first week you did it or the second week. It might take a year or two. You know, the Lizzo story, the same song's out forever and then it finally turns over. So I just think you have to keep coming up with great quality, not being afraid, work on your craft. You know, if you're an artist and you're a detail artist, be a detail artist and make it happen, but then push all the way until you're able to make it go. Because at this point, you know, everyone's sitting in the house looking at a screen going, what am I going to do now? What are you going to do now, or what are you going to watch now? Just be about it. Do it. You know, if you plant a seed, you're going to grow a tree.
Wise words. Absolutely. Oh, people are saying Questlove was in the chat. I don't know if he's still in here or not.
He's just happy he won. I didn't pass 13, Amir.
Sorry, Amir. Or congrats, Amir. Amir, you shouldn't be taking, you know, joy out of Salaam's. So first of all, Salaam did great. Salaam's doing fine. Like, this isn't a sob story for Salaam Remi. Charlotte said, well,
And the things that I didn't know, I can't say I wanted to know them. So that makes me feel
oh, okay. All right. See, I see you changing your tune now. All right.
perspective. You know, I can find joy in everything.
Do you feel satiated with that final question, or do we go into more? It's up to you.
No, we're good. I mean, like, so you want to do one more? If you see something that makes sense, it's all good.
All
I
right,
can't
all right.
see them, so I'm just having fun.
All right.
Still here.
We're glad you're having fun.
Since I have all this light on my face. And,
let's see. Okay, this is a great one too. I like this one. A shout out to Cardinal Official in the chat as well. What up, Cardinal? You should come on the show, Cardinal. That'd be great. Here's a question from Demita Taylor. She asks, what major disappointment became a turning point in your career? Old, interim, or new memory? So what was a disappointment or something that felt like a failure at the time that became a turning point for you? I love that question.
you know, I'm such a positive person. I can't think of one off the top of my head. A disappointment. I'm sure glad I missed. To be honest, I would feel rude to have asked for the things in my career that have gone right. You know, I almost feel like I had too many things go right. That this isn't me. This is someone else working through me. So I can't think of a disappointment in a certain way. You know, there's something that didn't work. I can kind of say in my gut, I knew it wasn't going to work. So I wasn't really disappointed. I'm trying to think, what is a disappointment? I think it's learning. You know, I mean, it's also like things when I might have done loads of demos on artists, you know, and then when the success came or the deal came, maybe the business didn't work out, but I learned from it. That happened quite a few times early in my early career, where you know, I didn't Kamosi, like we done demos, and then after Here Comes the Hot Step, I was kind of like, well, I did my part, and I was like, well, cool, I did the platinum one. And I felt cool just saying, cool, I'm good with this one. You go ahead and do whatever you're going to do.
Right.
Just separate it if we're not going to stick to our original deal, even though the time had passed. And I still listen to the demos that I did with Here Comes the Hot Stepper, and they're still fire now. So I'm cool with it because it was there. I think, you know, not being disappointed by other people's actions was the learning. You know what I'm saying? That kind of is it. I'm not disappointed. It's cool. I have to be disappointed if I don't know how to bounce back from it. You know what I'm saying? And I have quite a good bounce back.
Well, it's a brilliant and a positive way, and just a good attitude to have, especially in a business where, like, look, I got news for you kids. If you're watching this, if you're looking for a smooth and like everything will be delivered exactly as you think it's going to happen career, music ain't it. It's not
thick
gonna
skin, or it's not for you. You know, Nas says that all the time. You gotta have thick skin.
Yeah.
You know, people will tell you all types of stuff about yourself, and if you don't have thick enough skin, you're not gonna make it.
100%. Salaam Remi, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you for all the music you've done. Thank you for being gracious with your time and joining us. We learned a lot, and it's been an honor and a pleasure speaking to you. So thank you.
Thank you, and I didn't do as bad as I thought I would, so I'm happy.
Hey, listen, the man does not know how to have negative experiences. He got a lower score than Amir, but he's positive. You learn things from it.
It's like he has some extra information in his antennas.
Probably. We don't know what he's keeping in his hair. You know, there's a lot of like good notes. Thank you so much. Be well. Be safe. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Peace.